you've ever seen a Pixar movie in theaters, you've likely seen the short that comes attached to the beginning of the film. And if you're anything like me, every time you sit down in that theater waiting for that Pixar film to begin, you completely forget about the short beforehand. The short films themselves don't directly make any money, and most people overlook them. Sure, they win an Oscar from time to time for Best Animated Short, but Pixar has earned enough Oscars from their feature-length films. So why do they keep on producing them? Well, it started off as a way to push the technology. Back in 1984, before Pixar was the studio we loved, they were a division of Lucasfilm called the Graphics Group. Initially, Pixar was a high-end computer hardware company whose core product was the Pixar Image Computer, and animation wasn't even a goal of theirs. They developed a system that primarily sold to government agencies and the medical community. Fortunately for us, the system never sold well, so in hopes of boosting sales, an employee, John Lasseter, who had a history in developing short films, suggested that they show the product's capabilities with demonstration through animation. So they began testing the waters and produced a short film called The Adventures of Andre and Wally B. The film showed what a computer can accomplish. This film was less of a film and more of a test of the tech.
We had the particle systems by Bill Reeves we wanted to showcase, and we had motion blur. This is one of the most revolutionary things that Pixar came up with. You actually blur characters out in the direction of motion during the frame.
But people were still in awe of what they saw. They had never seen fully realized characters. It wasn't until Luxor Jr. was produced by Pixar and shown to audiences that they were in awe of the far more realistic look. But more importantly, Pixar was trying to show off the software again.
Self-shadowing was the lamp turning around and casting shadows on itself.
What would be a cooler way to show off this technology than having the moving light sources be these lamps moving around so the shadows changed position all the time?
However, it wasn't just the photorealism. Pixar was onto something. It was the emotional realism. Industry professionals were quoted saying it was the first computer animated film that enabled viewers to forget that they were watching a computer animation.
And people were just talking about it forever as the first time they'd seen it, and the it that they had seen was the first time they'd seen emotion and character and storytelling in a computer animated film.
There's curiosity, there's dismay, there's sympathy, there's bemusement, a whole range of things that he was able to get through to the audience using just a few joint angles in this thing.
You realize that, okay, it's no longer a test if it's actually touching you in some way.
And audiences agreed. The film received the first ever nomination ever for a 3D produced film at the Oscars. It showed character and emotion through lifeless objects.
And I'll never forget Jim Blinn, one of the giants in the computer graphics research world, came to me after the show. And he said, "John, I have a question for you." And I thought, oh no, Jim Blinn, he's going to ask me about the self-shadowing algorithm. I know he is. I don't know that. He goes, "John, was the parent lamp a mother or a father?" And I just smiled, and I thought, he didn't.
Pixar had achieved exactly what John Lasseter came to do. He showed that technology pushes the art and showed the world how a story can be told with a computer. The goal slowly shifted into showing the world that they could produce a feature film. So they did Red Stream to show that they could nail a mood and environment and implement rain for the first time. Then came Tin Toy, and the idea of a story from a toy's perspective. And through so, they made the first ever human character in Pixar's history, and it pushed them in the technology. It became the first ever computer animated film to ever win an Oscar. And Pixar again knew that they had something magical in their hands. In 4 short years, they went from creating the first 3D short film ever to creating one that could rival any other short story out there for that year. It became clear to Pixar that the feature film that they were going to make would take inspiration from Tin Toy. And well, the rest is history. Toy Story became an instant classic, and the 3D animation was up to a point where it could believably recreate still life in motion and tell a thought-provoking story. So why does Pixar continue with these shorts? I mean, the technology is fully evolved and they've done a feature film and made money. Why go backwards rather than forwards? Well, that wasn't always the case. During Toy Story, Pixar stopped production on any short-length films. It wasn't until after the completion that John Lasseter and Pixar realized that those short films, much like Tin Toy did, helped them flex their creativity. It became a way to collaborate and play with ideas without committing to years spent on a project. The Pixar team realized that their best ideas were coming through that collaboration. And then it became a way to allow Pixar to hear new voices within the company. Future Pixar directors would have their start in Pixar shorts and show off their talent. But it wasn't only the directors, animators, storyboard artists, everyone else got to try out their interests on these short films and really push their creativity and learn the art more so. So when it came around to producing those feature films, they'd be even better at their craft. Directors like Mark Andrews directed One Man Band before developing Brave, or Peter Son, who did partially Cloudy before moving on to direct The Good Dinosaur. Or many people that already worked at Pixar had a chance to direct, like Ronnie Del Carmen was given a chance to direct Doug's Special Mission, and later would co-direct Inside Out, or Ignis McLean, who directed a number of side short films from other movies before moving on to Finding Dory. This is why Pixar does those short films. At first, it was a way to test out this technology, but then they continue to discover new talent and give them new opportunities inside the company and allow them to grow. But the main reason that Pixar still makes these short films today is because it allows them to play. It allows them to have fun, experiment. This is what thrives that company. This is why I love Pixar. It's not about the money. They make these short films because they are interested in them. They're inspired by them. These are employees' passion projects, a way to show off their talent. And they're more interested in harboring that talent and pushing their storytelling abilities.
But we do think that people enjoy them. And that's enough reason. If people go to our films and have a great time, then we will have succeeded. And the shorts are part of that enjoyment.
So what do you think of the Pixar shorts? Do you love them like I do? It's always such a treat walking into the theater and having a new one to watch. As always, thank you so much to my patrons, Adam Gray, Jeremy Jacobs, Jenny Edwards,